Welcome to NCIX Tech Tips. Today's episode is all about the Vesta 3210 SFF. This system, and I'll use our TV here, packs more awesomeness per cubic foot ratio at $999 than pretty much anything else because it packs an awful lot of awesomeness into a mini ITX case, but without compromising any of the awesomeness. We're going to show you more about it in just a moment. So let's start with a look at the exterior of this case. This is the Bitfenix Prodigy. It comes in two versions, black and white, and we've gone with the black one because we feel it has a very performance look and it offers more options for cooling due to the mesh panel in the front, which gives you a ton of airflow, especially given the small dimensions of this case. You've probably noticed already the overall look of it is kind of like a very small Mac Pro because it's got these curves on the top and the bottom at the front and the back that can also act as handles, should you so desire. Starting at the front, you've got room for a 5 1/4 inch optical. However, it should be noted that if you're adding massive cooling options into the top of the case like we've done, you're probably going to want to use an external optical because there isn't really room to install one here anymore. You've got a nice Bitfenix logo on the front, and other than that, you can see the white LED backlight from the Spectre fan that we're using in the front. It's a 230mm fan, and that's what provides cooling for most of the internals. Flipping it around to this side, you can see that that's where the I/O is. So Bitfenix didn't have room on the front once they built in all those cooling options and the optical bay, so they went with the power reset, headphone, and microphone ports, as well as two USB 3 ports on the side panel so that they're easy to reach, but they don't change the aesthetic of the front and they don't interfere with, well, the fact that there's no room left on the front. On the graphics card side, you can see we've again got some pretty sweet looking LED lighting going on with Bitfenix Alchemy LED strips, and you can sort of see the ASUS DirectCU2 cooled graphics card inside there, so we're going to show you more details of the inside once we get it opened up. In the top, that is what I'm talking about. H100 with push-pull fans on it. So we got white LED fans on the outside so that the entire outside of the system has that white glowing look to it. And then on the inside, we're using regular non-lit fans. But that H100 is going to keep the CPU in here nice and cool, which is good because this is the maxed out version of this system. This is not the $999 system. This is the more like what you can achieve in a small form factor with a Bitfenix Prodigy edition of the system. I/O on the back is taken care of by our ASUS motherboard, so we've got 4 USB 2.0 ports, 4 USB 3.0 ports. We've also got HDMI DisplayPort and DVI outputs, wireless, optical audio out, gigabit Ethernet, dual eSATA ports, a clear CMOS button, as well as their USB BIOS flashback feature, which can be very handy, and your analog audio out. These two DVI ports are provided by the graphics card, and other than that, there's not much else to see back here, except, yes, more cooling, another 120mm fan. Now, as with any gaming PC, it can be as cute as it wants to be, but if the specs aren't right, it sucks, right? You gotta put up or shut up. It's either got the performance or it doesn't. Well, this one, even the $999 configuration, does have the performance. Solidly built side panels, by the way. Very well built case. So let's talk about the $999 version first, and then I'm going to show you what we're doing with this souped up one here that makes it very exceptional. So the $999 one has a Core i5-3470, that's a quad core still, a GTX 560 from ASUS with their DirectCU2 cooling. It's also got 8 gigs of RAM, a 2 terabyte boot drive. What else has it got in it? Ah, yes, 520 watt power supply, and it's using the ASUS H77 ITX board. Now with this one, we've made some pretty significant upgrades. So for one thing, you can see we've got a GTX 560 Ti in here, so it's a little bit faster, although it can support even higher performance graphics cards due to the way that this case has plenty of room for graphics card ventilation with the perforated side panel. We've also upgraded the power supply to a 620 watt, which is more than adequate for pretty much any single card configuration. If you're not going SLI, you won't need more than about 600 watts because even the highest end single graphics cards won't need more than that. We've also upgraded the CPU, so we went to a 3770K with an ASUS Z77 ITX board. That means that you can take advantage of the H100 push-pull cooler and overclock your ITX system. Now, the stock configuration is not overclocking ready because neither the H77 chipset nor the Core i5-3470 support overclocking. However, it comes liquid cooled anyway because if you're going to have a pretty ballin' out little system that's got great ventilation, it might as well run really cool, right? So that one comes with an H100 as well. The rest of the spec doesn't really change much. So you've still got, oh, this one we've also decked it out with a Kingston HyperX boot SSD. Well, there you go. It's using the HyperX 3K series. So you can choose whatever SSD you want, and then you can also pair it up, even if you have a long graphics card, with an additional storage drive. The Prodigy comes with tons of options for storage. In fact, the drive cage that we've actually removed for this config can also be populated if you decide to go a slightly different route in terms of your wire management and your graphics card choice. So you can fit up to 5 3.5-inch drives natively in here and a ton of SSDs. You can mount additional SSDs on the front of the power supply cage, in the regular drive cages, and on the other side of the case. So we're going to open up the other side panel to give you guys the view from there. So I don't know how well this is going to go because all of the cables for the front panel I/O are plugged in. So this will either be really interesting or really interesting in a bad way, but still interesting. There we go. So let's get actually here, come on in and get a close look at this because this is ASUS's finest ITX motherboard. You see this entire daughter board PCB that comes out of their Z77 board? That is the power delivery circuitry for the CPU. In order to make this board fit into the ITX form factor, ASUS actually had to build vertically out of a normal ITX board in order to have enough space for all the power delivery and cooling that they wanted to have, which means that if you upgrade this system with a Z77 board and a K-series processor, with all this cooling potential in here, you can do some serious overclocking in spite of the LAN-sized form factor that the Bitfenix Prodigy enables. Now, I did mention something about more SSD mounts. On the flip side of this side panel here, there's actually 2 more 2.5-inch drive bays, so you can fit just a ton of SSDs in this case due to the creative way that they laid it out. So the conclusion for this video is pretty simple. If you want a sweet gaming machine, whether you want to go with the base configuration or whether you want to deck it out to the point where you've got like a overclocked 3770K and GTX 680 in here, you have all the potential in the world with our new small form factor gaming machine. So thank you for checking out this system episode of NCIX Tech Tips, and don't forget to subscribe.